This is Ken Pyle with VOD TV. We're at the American Cable Association Summit in Washington, D.C. with Colleen Abdullah with WOW, and also the chairwoman of the ACA.
That's right, Ken.
Colleen, we've already heard from Chairman Janikowski and Senator Pryor, and it seems like a common theme that comes up in this conference and will continue to is content.
Yes.
What challenges are you seeing with content these days?
Yeah. Many that have existed for quite some time, and they're just getting worse over time as media consolidation continues, and there are just a select few of programmers who have a broad suite of content to provide. It gets tougher. It gets tougher in negotiating when it comes to whether it's retransmission consent or sports programming, especially for the smaller, medium-sized operator where that doesn't have the leverage that some of the larger operators do during negotiation. We get really beaten up at retransmission consent time with double-digit, triple-digit increases. And where does that money come from? You know, lots of times from our margins and from our consumers, because we have to pass some of that cost on, obviously. And it's tough and it's unfair.
Well, and it's not as obvious either, as we were talking about. Sometimes with some of these newer deals, it's leaking over into the broadband, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, again, you look at, it's not just a linear product problem. As mobility and convergence of all this hardware, and I want what I want, where I want it, on whatever device I happen to have, that's happening, that's real, and that's only going to get more so in the future. And so our ability to be able to provide content anywhere, all the time, the way the consumer wants it, that's the key, Ken, is we're not able to provide it the way consumers want it. For example, on sports programming, I really fundamentally believe that if I want that product, it should be tiered and I should pay extra for it. And everybody who is not a sports fan shouldn't have to subsidize that. Right. And yet that's the model we have today. It's a broken model from a consumer perspective.
Well, and you know, technology has changed so much in the last 20 years. An argument at one point could have been made, well, you know, technologically it's not possible, but now, as you point out, with devices that are handheld, a lot of those arguments, I think, have gone away.
Exactly, absolutely. And I think instead of being at odds with one another, programmers, operators, broadband providers like we are, need to work together to get the consumers what they want, when they want it, at a reasonable price, because people will pay for what they want.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you have the other aspect of that, and then the broadcasters with retransmission consent and how that fits into all this.
Yeah. You know, it's disappointing when you hear people say, oh, it worked because not many people lost their signal. Well, that's not a barometer of whether the process is working or not. Because if we're being good stewards for our consumers, we're going to try to get those deals done at all costs, because we don't want to disrupt their service. And that's what's happening, is we are absorbing these double, triple-digit increases because we don't want to disrupt our customers. And competitively, at least from a WOW perspective, and many other members here who struggle with a really, really tough competition in our markets, you can't afford to take it off. You can't have your competitor making the deal and you not.
And again, back to the scale thing, you're one of the larger operators, maybe the largest in the ACA.
I think Mediacom is our largest ACA member. We're probably second or third.
Okay, so collectively it's about 7.5 million members you face.
Right.
But despite that, even with your size or Mediacom size, you don't quite have the scale to deal against the media conglomerates.
Oh no, absolutely. I think to get some kind of economies of scale on programming, some kind of synergies on costs, you have to be well in the millions, over 3 million, 4 million in your customer base to really have some leverage when you're negotiating. And that's why it's so important to have groups like NCTC that can represent the group of us so that we do act like one large MSO. But that in itself has had its challenges.
And so, you know, when you're a company such as yourself that faces this real challenge on the content side, how do you compete?
Great question. For WOW, it is really knowing that our direct costs may be 30-35% higher than our competitors. It's through those controllable costs. We're highly efficient, productive, effective in how we roll things out, how we manage our businesses. We're lean, mean. We're smart about how we spend our money. And then more than ever, from a consumer standpoint, we differentiate ourselves through the experience. Hopefully, when you call us and you experience wow, it is far different than our competitors. And that is how we've been able to compete in our markets.
And you've done very well having those wow moments,
Yes,
several
exactly.
awards, J.D. Powers and so forth.
Thank you. 14 J.D. Power Awards in 10 years, as well as being acknowledged in Consumer Reports since 2007.
And that's impressive because you're in multiple states, too.
Yes, we're in 5 different states, 2 systems in Ohio, 1 in Illinois, 2 in Michigan, and 1 in Evansville, Indiana.
So is a big part of that secret to success, is it culture?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer. I think a lot of companies and leaders talk about people being important and their greatest asset, but they don't have a culture that really supports that. And at WOW, our philosophy is to deliver an employee and customer experience that lives up to our name. And that's not just a cute little phrase. We really mean it. Every decision we make, we ask ourselves, will this have an employee and or a customer say, wow, that's a good thing? And if they won't say that, we probably should rethink it.
Well, and I notice even it starts with the management bios where you have, the first word that describes them as kind of their personal role in life,
That's
whether it be
right.
mom or whatever.
That's right. We like to sign our signatures with at least 3 descriptors of who we are, because we're all people. And our products and services don't differentiate us. What differentiates us is how you think, I think, how we interact. And at WOW, we live by that truth.
Well, I guess I just have to say wow. So, Colleen.
Thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
ask
you.
the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye.